The Australian dollar did something significant on Monday, and the US dollar did something even more significant last week. So I'll have all the details in today's video, including how I'm trading the Australian dollar and also some potential targets to watch. So my name is Justin Bennett, full-time trader and founder of Daily Price Action. As always, all of this is my opinion only and not financial advice. So let's look at the Australian dollar here. We're going to talk about the Aussie and also the US dollar, the DXY, because both markets have done something significant over the past few days. So as far as the Australian dollar, what it did on Monday was actually significant, despite the fact that the 4-hour time frame looks like we just had a wick below this low back here. So as you guys know, if you followed me for a while, you know that I like to use the 1-hour time frame for a directional bias. So in terms of market structure, mapping out breakup structures and change of characters, the 1-hour time frame is what I typically use. And when we go down to a 1-hour time frame, you can see here that we do have off of this low back here, which was an external low following this BOS up here. Okay, so we had the BOS up here in this area. This confirmed it above this high. That meant that the lowest point here within this range was this one right down here. And this was the low that was broken on Monday. So during all that volatility that we saw here from these markets, you can see where we did get the close below here, in fact, on 2 candles. Okay, so this right here confirmed the change of character on the 1-hour time frame. However, I want to be clear, this right here does not mean that this is a short setup. In fact, you do not want to short when you get a change of character like this or even a break of structure, because if you are trading those, you're going to find very quickly that you are going to get stopped out a lot. Okay, so all this tells us here is that we have had a market shift now on the 1-hour time frame. And by the way, if you do want to see exactly how I trade SMC, then check out the link right here on the screen. That's going to give you a free SMC course that shows you exactly how I trade SMC. Beyond that, you will have a chance to join us in Discord for my help with your trading, seeing my trades live. I'm in there every single day. It's where I spend most of my time Monday through Friday, answering member questions and posting trade ideas, sharing my charts, and then also you'll get access to the full SMC course, which is over 20 lessons. So if you don't see the link here on the screen, then check out the description of this video or the pinned comment. So looking at the Australian dollar, guys, 1-hour change of character below here. Again, all this tells us is that the market structure has shifted bearish. And this is the first time, if you look back here from this run up, right? This was a very impulsive move back here. A lot of internal highs and lows developing through here during this impulsive move. And then following this here, once the market started to range, it was technically still in an uptrend. Okay, so we did have a BOS back here. We had this high form, the market gave us a trough down here, and then we had this BOS up here. Again, this was our external low. You can see change of character over here. Okay, so all very simple stuff. Now, this is only part one though. This only tells us that the market structure has shifted bearish. So what do we do with this information? Again, you don't want to be shorting this right here because that's not where you want to short. You'd be shorting low. And you can see here in this case, in a lot of cases, you would be getting stopped out a lot if you are doing that. So what you want to do is, or at least what I do, is this right here is my indication that sellers are taking over. However, I need to short high. Okay, and what that could look like here for the Australian dollar, although no guarantees, is if you go here to a 4-hour time frame, and I'll get to what this highlighted area is down here as well later in the video, so be sure to stick around, and we'll also talk about the DXY as well. So looking up here, what we have is off of these highs, you can see where we do have some symmetry developing here for this market. And when I talk about symmetry, what I mean by that is that you can see off of these highs up here and these lows, what you'll notice is that we have a situation where within this current trend, remember, this was the move down here on Monday that was that shift, okay, that bearish shift that we saw from this market. And what you'll notice here is that within this trend, this recent trend, if this is your mean or midline through here, the market essentially distributes to either side of this, okay? It does this over and over again. So obviously a market can go either way, right? We can either see the Australian dollar move lower first or move up here first. So the way that I'm eyeing this and the way that I'm trading this market right now is on the one hand, if we get the move up here first, you can see where we do have this candle, potential imbalance up here with this wick. So if we do get the move up here first, then I may look for a lower time frame change of character from here to get short. Now, in the event that we do not see this up here and we just move straight lower from this current level here, okay, and obviously a lot of indecision out there, guys, right now with the war and everything else. Markets are just very confused right now. And when you look at the headlines, it's no surprise. I mean, they're right to be confused. Looking at the 1-hour time frame though, okay, so down here, what you'll notice is that we do have a trend line off of this closing price, this 1-hour closing price. Now, trend lines are not specifically SMC, okay, but they can be helpful. And in this case here, what you can see is that off of this closing price here on the 1-hour, we've got this low here, and then we have some closing prices through here over the past 24 hours. So in my opinion, what this is going to come down to is if we are likely to see this market move back here toward this imbalance that I pointed out before, okay, so right up there around like 70-40, if we're going to see this here, then really the Australian dollar should hold above this area down here. Okay, so we should see these higher lows continue and see the market push into this region. Now, if we don't get this up here though, okay, if we don't see the market hold above here and we do get a sustained break below here, okay, so acceptance below here on the higher time frames, then that right there could give us a break of this trend line and potentially just a continuation down here toward the bottom of this channel. So again, there's no guarantee that we do see the market run back here to mitigate this imbalance up here. We could just see the Australian dollar move lower over the coming days first. Okay, so in my opinion, this trend line down here is kind of my barometer for whether or not we see this market from current levels move straight lower down here toward the bottom of this channel, or potentially move up here to mitigate this buy side imbalance. Now, if we get the move lower first as well, if you look at the 4-hour time frame, right, looking back here, where might the market find some support? Well, you can see that back here during this impulsive move, we do have this area right through here. So if I draw, I'm just going to draw a ray off of this consolidation, so right through the middle of this. And so this down here could be a potential target. So in other words, if you get the Australian dollar closing below, like I said before, breaking below this trend line here, okay, so acceptance below here, and taking out these lows and invalidating these higher lows that we've seen, then that right there could be the catalyst, the technical catalyst for the move down here toward about 68.40. Okay, so the bottom of this channel, also that pocket of consolidation during that impulsive move that we just looked at, this down here could become a potential target. And on the other hand, like I said, if we hold above here though, then there's no short setup, and really we could get that move up here toward this region first, okay, before looking for a lower time frame change of character to get short. Okay, so that's how I'm looking at this. And this is where people say, okay, great, a market could move higher or lower, but the thing is, if you have triggers in place that are going to tell you what is likely, in other words, break below here, okay, this in my opinion is likely. If we hold above here, then this up here is likely. If you know that, guys, then trading becomes effortless. Okay, so obviously no guarantee that that will happen. Like in other words, if we break below here, there's no guarantee that we see this down here. But in my opinion, if we're going to see the move up here first, then this level has to hold. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Okay, and typically too, I do want to point out that typically I would not use trend lines like this. Following my SMC rules, I would be looking for a short high first. I mean, that's really ideally what I'd be looking for. But in these market conditions, because they are so indecisive and because they can change on an instant with these current conditions that we're faced with, then I am using a trend line like this just to kind of give me a little bit more of a flexibility with these markets. Okay, so just to kind of point that out. Now, what is this area down here? Why do I have this area highlighted? Well, if we go to a daily time frame, what you'll notice is, just like before we use this descending channel, what you'll notice is that from this low down here in 2025, the Australian dollar has made actually a really nice ascending channel here, despite the fact that all of this price action back here for months was just so incredibly choppy. But despite this, what you'll notice is that we have the low down here, we've got this low, we have all of these lows through here, and then these lows recently. So what you'll notice is that 1 hour change of character is actually occurring, okay, after this consolidation at the top of this channel. Now, furthermore, on top of that, what you'll notice is that this sell side imbalance down here, okay, so this area down here is an imbalance. You can see the displacement back here out of this range. So when we got the breakout here, all of this through here was just displacement, okay? Very impulsive move. And so far we have not seen a mitigation of any of this area down here. So right around 67.50, in this general region, which you can also see is the bottom of that channel. So that's why I have this highlighted, because over the coming, days and weeks, if we were to see this market move lower, whether it be, breaking below here and just moving straight lower, or we get that relief first, I do think with this 1 hour change of character, with the fact the market is hanging out up here at the top of that channel, I am looking for this area down here over the coming weeks. Okay, so this is kind of my longer term target for the Australian dollar. Like I said, though, it's just a matter of whether we break this trend line here to give us that impulse for the move lower, or we get some relief here first to fill in this imbalance up here. Okay, so that's the part we don't know yet. We just have to wait for confirmation of that from this market. Now, one thing too, I do want to mention, because of all the indecision out there in these markets, I really have to caution you about holding trades over the weekend. Okay, and if you're new to trading, just understand that your stop loss is not going to save you. Your stop loss is not going to protect you in the case of a weekend gap. So if you have a stop loss that's set at 30 pips away from your entry, the market opens on Monday with a 100 pip gap against you, you are going to pay that 100 pips. You are not going to pay the 30 pips, and your broker is certainly not going to do it for you. Okay, so you're on the hook for that tab, that 100 pip tab, you're on the hook for that. So the 30 pip stop loss is basically irrelevant if the market gaps against you. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that your stop losses are not going to save you in the case of a weekend gap against you. Okay, so let's quickly move on here to the DXY, and I want to point out what's happening here with this chart, because what we've talked about over the past few weeks is this channel here, and so far the DXY is holding the bottom portion of this. Okay, so far this is not a bearish US dollar. We have the market holding up above here. We still have this BOS in place. This low down here is the external low. As long as we're above this low down here, then technically speaking, market structure wise, this market is bullish. Okay, now it doesn't mean that we are going to move higher. We could absolutely get the push lower below these lows. I think if we start taking out these lows down here, then chances of a move down here below this low to mitigate this imbalance are pretty good. Okay, but as I said, as of right now, making this video, the DXY, the US dollar, is still technically bullish. And another factor too of why I am staying bullish on the US dollar despite what happens, I mean, despite, whether we get this here right here or this, for me, guys, what happened over the past couple of weeks here for this market is really eye-opening. And what I'm referring to here is the daily time frame. So what you'll notice is that obviously, a downtrend back here, no question about that in 2025. Now, what you'll notice back here is that we had this low that formed. Okay, so we had the low back here, and we had a significant rally from this. Okay, now back here, we did not close below it here. However, we did over here. Now that right there gave us a new BOS, a new break of structure below this low. Okay, now from there, what we can say is from this point over here to this break below, what is the highest point? The highest point are these two highs back here. Okay, so if you draw a horizontal off of that, what you'll notice recently is that the daily did in fact close above here. Okay, so even though we are getting the pullback now from the US dollar, we still had the market closing above here, giving us a bullish change of character on the higher time frames. So all of this to say that even if we pull back and mitigate this imbalance down here, notice we have this pocket down here for the DXY. Even if we were to pull back further down here into this region, I think you've got to be really careful getting bearish, overly bearish on the US dollar, simply because of that change of character that we saw here on this daily close. Okay, so for me, whether we bottom out here at these lows this week, or we see the market pull back further, in my opinion, this up here is something to pay attention to. And we saw the same thing, the opposite of this on the Euro USD daily time frame as well. That was the first bearish change of character for the Euro since 2024. So overall, market structure speaking, right, this is a shift in the higher time frames for the US dollar. So just be really aware of this as we move into the next few weeks, especially if we do get a pullback here from the US dollar. I think any pullback there could potentially be a trap for bears. Okay, and I can say the same thing here for the Australian dollar as well, that if we were to get relief from this market before the move lower, so in other words, if we were to get the push up here into this area, in my opinion, that could potentially be a trap here before we get that continuation of this trend following that 1 hour change of character. Okay, so hope all of that made sense. If it did help, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also check out the link right here on the screen for that free SMC course that shows you how I trade. Beyond that, you can join us in Discord for my help with your trading every single day, Monday through Friday. Until next time, trade well. I will talk to you again tomorrow.